Today I'm going to be making lemon raspberry cheesecakes.
Let's start with the equipment needed for the cheesecakes. I have a rubber spatula, a small paring knife, zester, lemon juice squeezer, the liquid measuring cup, dry measuring cup, and tablespoon and teaspoon size measures. This is a small strainer with a bowl over a bowl for the raspberry puree. And this is a small food processor that can be used both for the raspberry puree and the crust. This is a large bowl, a stand mixer, but you can also use a large bowl with a hand mixer. Over here, this is the bakeware. This is just a 12 count muffins pan, but you can also use one 8x8 pan for this. In terms of ingredients needed, here are frozen berry mix. You can also use fresh raspberries for this, or fresh berries. I have Oreos, but you can also use graham crackers. Butter for the crust, sour cream, cream cheese, of course, 3 eggs, lemon, salt, and sugar. So I'm going to start with the crust for the cheesecakes. This I had made earlier. This is Oreos, about 12 Oreos processed in the food processor with 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Again, this is a half recipe compared to my normal size, so that's why I'm only using the 12 Oreo cookies to make this. And so first thing I'll do is just put a couple of teaspoons or so of the crust in the bottom, not too much there, and then I'll use this spoon to kind of pat it down. You don't want it to be too thick of a crust, otherwise it'll just be mostly crust and not enough cheesecake filling. So, and for these muffin-sized cheesecakes, I typically just do the bottom. I don't do the sides. But if I'm doing a larger 8x8 pan, then I'll have it pushed up along the crust along the sides as well. So I'll just do that. I'll just keep doing a couple tablespoons or teaspoon sized within these muffins pan, and then kind of pat it down with the spoon. So I have finished patting the crust down into the muffin tins, so I'll set that aside until I finish with the cake filling. And so now I'll work on the raspberry or berry puree. I didn't have any fresh raspberries available, so I just have these frozen berries that have been slightly thawed. And I'm going to measure out 3 ounces, or weigh out 3 ounces of it. So, processor along with 2 tablespoons of sugar. It's about 2 tablespoons, and so I like to use as much of the ingredients as possible, not waste. Okay. And all I have to do is puree this and strain it. little bit, I would say, too solidified right now. So I'm gonna add water, maybe 1 tablespoon at a time to loosen it up a bit. So this is just 1 tablespoon water. I need to add more water to this. I'm going to add just 1 more tablespoon. It still looks a bit thick. Yeah, what I'm really looking for is for it to be liquid enough that I can strain it. So this looks about right. Put that aside. And then I'll pour it into this pudding. Like with other types of things that you need to strain, you just gotta scrape it through until it goes through. So this might take a while. So I finished straining the berry puree mixture, and I'm going to set this aside. Note that I'm saving the parts that have been strained out. You can totally use this for other recipes, like putting it into cookies or putting it in mixed drinks. This is actually good. Don't throw this away. So putting that aside. So now out here I have 2 8-ounce blocks of cream cheese, and I'm going to add that to the stand mixer along with, I'm going to get this started first and then add a 1/2 cup of sugar. So occasionally, as it's running through the whipping the cream cheese, you want to scrape down the whisk as well as the sides of the bowl to make sure it's thoroughly incorporated. Note that this cream cheese, I had set it out at room temperature for about 4 hours or so. You definitely want to make sure this is at room temperature, otherwise the cream cheese will be very gritty and not be nice and smooth texture. Okay, and I'll whip this for about another minute or so. Alright, looks pretty well mixed. The cream cheese has been whipped, so I'll add the 1/2 cup of sugar. Alright, that's 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'll keep mixing. Okay, so I finished whipping the cream cheese with the sugar and scraped it down once in the middle to make sure that the sides have been, the cream cheese on the side has been incorporated as well. So now I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. So first I will zest and juice a lemon. So I have a lemon here. So before I cut it, I want to zest it and making sure only to go down to just where it starts turning white. So you don't want to go all the way down to the pith, otherwise it will be too bitter. So just doing where it's the most, zesting where it's most yellow. And this really does add a great flavor to, great lemon flavor to the cream cheese, the cheesecake. Okay, as much as possible. So I know I'm only doing a half recipe, but I really like lemon flavor, so I'm gonna zest the whole lemon for this half portion. Okay, and I will put that into the mixture. Okay, so always zest first, then juice, and for the half recipe it's just half of this lemon. So I will juice that. Okay, and that comes out to just under 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Okay, but first let me add the eggs and the salt. So salt first, about half a teaspoon or so, maybe a little bit less, okay, of salt. And then the eggs we'll add one at a time. It'll be 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk because it's a half recipe. So let me add 1 egg first. Just incorporated. It doesn't have to be fully incorporated. We'll mix a bit after all the eggs are added. So let me make sure it's cracked first of all before not get any shells. Okay. And the last egg will just be the yolk. So I'll get the separated out over here. And that's about it. And then I'll dump the yolk in. And then I'll keep going. Okay, so next I will add in the lemon juice and the sour cream. So this is the 2 tablespoons or so of lemon juice. And sour cream, so 1/4 of a cup. So use the rubber spatula to slip that in. Scrape the sides a bit, and then I will whip this until smooth. looks like this is all incorporated well, so I will remove the whisk. The mixer. And so now I will divide this among the 12 muffin tins, like that. About 1 scoop. This is about a 1/4 cup size. And I'll do the same for the rest. Alright, so I filled the muffin liners pretty high up. This is not going to rise very much because there's no leavening agent, other than the egg may have it puff up just a tiny bit, but not like a cake would. So now is where we will add in the raspberry swirl. What I have here is a metal straw, or any, you can have any straw or kind of small spoon. And what I'm gonna do is kind of dab a little bit of it into various areas within the cake. And that, then I will use the toothpick to swirl it within. So I'll show you what I mean. So I kind of dab it in a couple different places. I think like 5 spots or so would be plenty. And then use the toothpick, and then you can kind of make a swirl pattern with this, like that. And then it makes it look very pretty. You don't want to over swirl, because then you'll kind of have it too well incorporated. So I tend to need to force myself to stop touching it, otherwise it will be overly done. So I'll keep doing it for the rest. Now I will bake this for 25 minutes, or 25 to 30 minutes at 325 degrees. So after 25 minutes, the cheesecakes are ready. You can see it's puffed up a little bit, and some of them have cracked, but it's actually not a big deal because after it cools, it will settle, and then the cracks will actually come together. So I'm not too worried about it, but it looks pretty good. So I'll cool this completely and then store it in the fridge overnight. It is pretty important to refrigerate this for at least 4 hours before eating it to let the cheesecake set. I stored the cheesecakes overnight and molded them from the cupcake pan, and this is the complete product. So looks really cute, and let's take a look at a cross section. So it should be pretty easy to unpeel from the cupcake liner, and we can cut into one. Let's see. That's what it looks like on the inside. Get a better view of that. Thank you for watching.